3 minutes past 8 a.m. And of course, it's always very key and very instrumental for you to start your day as a business person when you're inspired, as you have the hope. Of course, hope is one of the key aspects when it comes to that is a movement of any enterprise for you to go any further according to your estimated dreams. So those inspirations are very key. But definitely, before we get there, don't forget all this is powered by Zabu. We just made your trading experience much more easy and friendly. Start tonight to hash, that is the magic code, as you will be available with quite lots of options. You can buy government bonds and securities, any of your choice, with as little as 15,000. You get on shillings. Of course, you can pay for more than that, but 15,000 is the minimum. At least that is quite very affordable. The markets open at exactly 8:15 a.m. and they close at exactly that is 3:15. Open at 8:15 a.m. and they close at exactly 3:15 p.m. That is East African time, Monday to Friday, except for the public holidays when the markets don't operate, and also the weekends the markets are not in operation. No more excuses as to why I shouldn't own stocks and government bonds. Zabu, my money, my future. Altex, East Africa. Do something new. And now heading straight into our business tips and quotes. Firstly, let's review the business tip of the day.
There is no doubt that the small businesses, sometimes referred to as micro and small and medium enterprises or small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are by far the engine of growth for Uganda in terms of economic development, innovation, and wealth creation. They make up about 90% of the private sector. They employ more than 2.5
Well, the business tip of the day, of course, says understand what motivates your customers to buy. Yes, of course, by the look of things, when you really get to look into that matter, it's when you're doing business, it's really never about you. It's never about what you feel. It's never about what you like, but it's about your bosses, and your bosses are the customers in this case, are the consumers that really need to come and support you, and of course buy your product. So it's very important for you to understand what motivates them to buy, and when you get to study that, it's going to be a little much more easy for you to really get something that you want from them in that very matter. So many times when we dream we dream big, and we put aside the beneficiaries, because remember, whenever you're putting in something, when you're coming up with an investment, it's very key and very vital for you to consider the people that are going to benefit from that perspective. And once you have the majority of the numbers of the personnel benefiting, then, well, that is quite okay. So with that, it will mean that you have to take time. You need to invest in understanding these consumers, understanding what really motivates them to do whatever they do. So in that way, you will be including them into your plan, and they won't feel left out, and there is no way they won't support you. Well, let's wind this up with the business quote of the day. Well, the business quote of the day says, luck is a matter of preparation. Luck is a matter of preparation and meeting opportunity. Yes, now that is something very key. So many times we talk about being lucky. Probably this happened, I was lucky, but there is no such a thing like being lucky. And in most cases, when that, it's more like it's important for you to have preparations in life, according to the aspirations that you have. So many times life will present to us challenges and probably things which seem to be contradicting with our dreams. But the question is, should that mean that we should stop pursuing our dreams and give in to what life has presented before us? No, that is not right. So what you have to do is keep on preparing yourself for that dream, regardless of the challenges. Keep on doing that. One day, one time, an opportunity will be unveiled to you. Yes, an opportunity will be availed to you, and it will be quite very absurd if you have nothing to show, if you're not prepared. It's like how there are no jobs. Somebody tells you, okay, yeah, there are no jobs in this country, so go do whatever you have to do, and you're probably pursuing education, you are doing a degree, and you feel like, why should I do this degree? After all, I'm not going to get a job. Well, you drop it, which is okay. But after 2 years, probably a very, very powerful job is presented before you. But they tell you one thing, a requirement is you need to have the qualifications, you need to have the papers. But you didn't. Because of what life presented to you way back, you dropped the degree, or you dropped that master's that you're pursuing, you dropped that PhD, and because of frustrations. But now the opportunity comes and they need a master's, they need a PhD, they need a degree, any of the three, which you had a chance, an opportunity to actually encounter. And so many other examples. I just gave it in relation to academics, but there are quite so lots of examples that can really relate to this very matter. It could be something, you're probably a musician and you don't write lyrics. You like, man, I can't make it in the industry. You probably gave up about the music industry, but probably one day, one time, a record label shows up to sign you, and they are paying you about $1 million worth of the contract. But now here comes this when you have nothing to show. So that means you've lost it all. And so that is very important. Luck is just a matter of preparation. Of course, getting ready, an opportunity which surfaces when you're already prepared in that regard. Well, now this very time, let's take a look at what's really trending. Of course, the social media trends, and it's also making some sort of a business sense. And now, of course, here we'll start with, this is at Africa Stream. He says African money madness. Of course, no one complains about having too much money. What about too many currencies? Yes. Now, of course, we see that still vocal and eloquent Kenyan Pan-Africanist, that is PL Lumumba, explains why having 33 of them instead of one is bad for Africa and, of course, the African nations. And we still see that. And, of course, don't get him started on the 54 central banks. So African madness, something about no one complains about having too much money. What about having too many currencies? That is, something to think about. Okay, now taking a look in here, this is Rigathi Gachagua. Yes, I think that's how Gak. Well, anyway, let's get into the tweet. Now, time check. It's 5:30 a.m. as I drove through the Nairobi city. That is on my way to work early this morning. I was amazed by the resilience of the Kenyan people. Despite the heavy downpour, Kenyans are briskly walking to work as drivers beat the traffic jam and drainage challenges. Yeah, definitely, it's never about, in any most of the developed economies, you need to be prepared at all time. Rain shouldn't disrupt the normal flow of activities of the day. All you have to do is get prepared to go through that. Of course, the rain, in case it happens, because if you don't attain to what you ought to attain to, you could probably freeze the entire system when it comes to money transfer. All right. Now this is at African Hub. We see that Kenya has signed a deal with Saudi Arabia to buy oil using its local currency. Now the Kenyan shilling, which is the Kenyan shilling, definitely, instead of the USD. Now this is something very key, and it's something which has been witnessed most especially in countries in the BRIC nations. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, trying to see ways they can purchase currencies, stuff using their own currencies. Now, all Kenyans, this is at PL Lumumba, all Kenyans of goodwill should be glad that demonstrations have been cancelled. And of course, we must reason together as patriotic Kenyans. And our motherland must never be sacrificed at the altar of temporal political interests. Yeah, that is quite so mature when it comes to reasoning out such matters. It's way bigger than protests, taking sides and all that. At the end of the day, we are family. and we ought to execute everything together. Now, this is a CGT in Africa, which says that the Kenya Space Agency is set to launch the country's first Earth observation satellite. Now, that is the Taifa 1 on 1st April. That is Taifa 1. Now, on April 11th, SpaceX is assisting Kenya. SpaceX is assisting Kenya in the mission. Of course, one of the SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets will carry the Kenyan satellite into space. And of course, Uganda is already into the journey of course, satellite. Now, Kenya, SpaceX, that is Elon Musk's company. Yes, Elon Musk's company when it comes to space exploration. Yes, partnering with the government of Kenya to make sure that this is made possible. Now, Kenyan schools having kids that is in school for hours and them waking up so early and leaving too late with tons of homework. Bro, it's just body mass and coloring. It's not that serious. Wow. It's quite so many interesting trends coming in here. Of course, somebody commenting on that saying that what's the weirdest thing society accepts as normal? You know, I mean, there are quite lots of those. And anyway, what do you really think of that? Looking at the schools having to be, of course, in school for hours just to end up so late. All right, now still in here, we see at Kenyans. Kenyans raised, that is about 42,000 Kenyan shillings to restock Jamia supermarket vandalized by protesters in Kisumu County. Wow, 142,000. That's quite lots of money if you try to put that into Ugandan currency. Yeah, that is to restock the Jamia supermarket, which was vandalized by protesters. Now, this is what we're talking about of, you know, when there is harmony in a country. Now, that is quite lots of property that was lost due to violence and taking sides. Okay, this is the U.S. ambassador at the U.S. ambassador to Kenya. We welcome the agreement by the president, by President Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to establish that is a bipartisan process to find solutions that benefit all Kenyans. Now, we commend both both leaders to their commitment to peaceful dialogue, and of course, and a call to all parties to support this process. That's the United States ambassador to Kenya. Of course, very grateful for that decision to cut off, of course, to reduce on the riots. Well, that is it regarding the social media trends, and now let's get into our next update in here. And this time around, we are looking at the Small Business Recovery Fund, and of course, incorporated with agriculture credit facilities. Of course, matters regarding that. You know, COVID-19 was quite a great disruptor when it came to small and medium enterprises, and majority really faced some limited cash flows. There was a shortage of cash flows in that way. And now this time around, we are looking at the Small Business Recovery Fund. Well, let's get into this discussion. Of course, we shall be returning with further related matters and analysis.
There is no doubt that the small businesses, sometimes referred to as micro and small and medium enterprises or small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are by far the engine of growth for Uganda in terms of economic development, innovation, and wealth creation. They make up about 90% of the private sector. They employ more than 2.5 million Ugandans and are directly linked to over 80% of the country's manufactured output. This therefore means that we cannot ignore the critical role they play in creating employment, alleviating poverty, promoting industrialization, and fostering economic growth. However, lack of access to affordable financing to expand and grow their businesses is a key constraint that they face. Small and medium enterprises rely heavily on daily cash flows, which is why they were most affected by the COVID-19 lockdown measures put in place by the government to contain the spread of the COVID pandemic. To address the challenges of access to affordable credit by the farmers and agro-processors and the constraints by SMEs as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Uganda adopted a more proactive policy intervention by establishing the ACF for farmers and agro-processors in 2009 and the Small Business Recovery Fund as a COVID recovery fund for small businesses, and this was set up in 2021. Over the last 14 years of administering the agricultural credit facility, Bank of Uganda, together with the participating financial institutions, have registered success by lending up to 751 billion to 2,970 beneficiaries, including large off-takers that create jobs and market for smallholder farmers. Funds under the agricultural credit facility have been disbursed for acquisition of agricultural machinery to increase farm production and productivity, acquisition of processing machinery for value addition, and infrastructure for post-harvest handling such as silos, warehouses, as well as cold storage facilities for perishable agricultural produce. In addition, we have made several improvements aimed at facilitating access to credit by the small and medium enterprises, taking into account their financing requirements and the constraints they face in accessing finance. Key among these improvements was the introduction of what we call block allocation model, which allows farmers, especially the smaller ones, with no financial records and who cannot meet the stringent collateral requirements such as land titles, they can access financing using other alternative collateral options such as cash flows, credit history, chattel mortgages, group guarantees, and others. Indeed, with this innovation, access to finance under the ACF has increased with 118 billion, extended to 1,754 beneficiaries just under this block allocation. This implies that 59% of the total ACF beneficiaries are medium and small enterprises. The low uptake of the SBRF, on the other hand, is of concern, and yet business community still grapples with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is the major reason we are here. And before I continue, the presenter will tell you that we have allowed you to use this money to pay off some of the old loans. But one thing is that you negotiate, you don't pay everything to the old loans and then go home, because you want your business to continue. So you can negotiate, you pay maybe 20% as you do business, then you can continue servicing both the old loan and the new one.
That is, of course, Small Business Recovery Fund. That's a workshop incorporated together with agriculture loan facilities, extending facilities in that way. Well, it was some sort of a two-in-one workshop, making sure that different aspects, different matters are really handled in a way that can influence, can be of great importance to both the parties and stakeholders. And of course, I'm joined with Joram here to have just a further discussion regarding this very matter, and we get to see how it really comes out. Good morning, Joram. How are you doing?
Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah,
I'm doing okay. And of course, here you get to realize that the workshop was incorporated with agriculture credit facilities, and,
yes,
pretty much a way of at least trying to harmonize both sectors. That is for the SMEs as well as the agricultural sector, because we do have a number of small businesses operating within agriculture, or we have many business people that are operating within the agricultural sector, but mainly on a small scale.
Yeah,
so by the look of things here, these extended credit facilities are pushing through not only to the SMEs, but to the agricultural sector, or what you would definitely look at as SMEs who are venturing into agro processing or agriculture, or commercial agriculture. Those who actually into value addition, mention it, and then commercial agriculture, doing agriculture for money, and all of those. And of course, when you look at the issue to do with credit facilities, I believe these recovery funds take us back to the COVID-19 situation, where government was giving in recovery funds for everyone within the MSME sector to recover. Now this year is more of a credit facility, or is more of a loan given out to someone out there to at least add on to their business, so that it can blossom and produce more of the agriculture products.
Actually, I remember even as part of the discussions, some of these businesses before COVID, during COVID they got loans, some were like operating in loans, and part of this money probably they will use it to pay the old loans. However much they also have to pay it back with that interest of about 10%, less than 10% interest. And of course, their targeted beneficiaries, according to reporting here, we see that priority was given to businesses that have between 4 to 49 employees and annual turnover of 10 to 100 million. When you talk about small businesses, some of the main things that, okay, maybe if I have these, what we term as a small business, I think that clearly brings it out. Do you employ 4 to 49 people? Well, you're entitled to that. But this money was disbursed some time back, because I remember the government put their 100 billion, and some other private financial players put 100, coming into 200 billion. But the challenge came in that there was this aspect of sensitization of the small businesses to be able to know what to use this money for, because some people might use it for other things which are not really efficient. Now that kind of over I think 3 weeks time, even last week, there was reports saying that the government is stuck with money for recovery fund, but that was not the issue. The issue now intended was this workshop, which was held to train them. But I hope they can really get these to put into like they have been taught in there. They put it there because it's going to be quite very frustrating once they achieve this money and this money doesn't help in a way, and it becomes worse. And now you're giving a burden back to the government and the federation that is responsible for the small and intermediary enterprises in that regard. Yes, and of course we are still in here taking a look at these matters right there, the COVID, and of course these are recovery related funds to the small and intermediary enterprises. But of course there are specifications for the people that are liable. Of course, we saw that if you employ about 4 to 49 employees, if you have 4 to 49 employees in your business, you're entitled to this, and you have a turnover of about 10 to 100 million annual turnover. And of course, the interest rate was fixed at 10% on a reducing balance basis. And our applicants were required to prove that before the outbreak, the business was stable, all growing, and that they were affected due to the lockdown. So there must be clear evidence that actually before the COVID-19 pandemic, your business was profitable, but the lockdown laid you down. Clear evidence regarding that. And now the business people are also supposed to provide their bank statements showing their performance before and after the lockdown. That is if you're to really benefit greatly from this. Well, 27 minutes past 8 a.m. And at this very time, we're going to get into a short commercial break. And when we return, we have entertainment, business, and sports, of course, aligned for you to make sure you get to understand what is really happening in there. Probably it could be something very influential for you, a stakeholder. Let's get into a break. We shall be returning.